we able to warm this light just a little bit more?
All right, here we go. Hey everyone, I'm Hannah Bueno, and together with Kanan Rubino, we lead International Good Deeds Day. Welcome to our next episode in the Good Deeds Day Facebook Live mini-series. In this series, we're having conversations with our partners all over the world about the projects being done during the Corona pandemic and how their focus has shifted. And we're going to be sharing major tips and learnings from these partners. So today I'm speaking with Natalye Paquin. She's the CEO of Points of Light, which is an international organization headquartered in the USA. They're dedicated to engaging more people and resources in solving serious social problems through voluntary service. Natalye is a visionary and results-oriented leader. She has a strong track record with both organizations and with the education sector. Natalye, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Hannah. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm doing good.
Good. Happy to hear. So just before we dive in, whether you're joining us live right now or you're catching us later, please say hi in the comments. Let us know who you are and where you are in the world. And of course, if you're live here, feel free to ask questions. If you're curious to learn something more about what we touched upon, we'd be happy to hear from you. So Natalye, for those that are a little bit less familiar with Points of Light, can you share a bit more about the work that you guys are engaged in?
Sure. Points of Light is a global nonprofit. We work with corporations, NGOs, nonprofits, individuals who are really social impact organizations who want to do good in the world. We are in over 200 cities, 37 countries. Each year we mobilize about 5 million volunteers. And we believe that every act matters, no act is too small. And we're really at the intersection of corporations, nonprofits, and individuals wanting to do good. I will say that Good Deeds Day, you are one of our partners, and we really enjoy the work with you. And we know that while we think globally, all problems are really solved locally. And so it's important to have those partners in the communities who really know best what solutions we should bring forward.
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, as a network as well, and we share a lot of similar organizations. We, Good Deeds Day, our backing organization is the Volunteer Center of Israel. So we've been affiliate of Points of Light for years now. There's definitely a huge power in network and connecting with organizations that are really tapped into, the local issues and solutions.
Yes, absolutely.
So let's just dive right in with COVID-19, and we're a few months into this pandemic. What has Points of Light been doing to assist and help organizations and corporates navigate this new situation that we're all in?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question, Hannah. We a couple of years ago we revised our strategic plan and really thought about what the world needed us to be. And right now, we're in the first 3 years of strengthening the network and looking at how people engage civically. COVID-19 was such a surprise, it's such a disruptor. It has really required everyone to take a step back and think about how they approach work. And so what we're doing with the network, we're actually trying to innovate as much as we can. We want to accelerate innovation. We're totally focused on individuals volunteering. Because of social distancing, you have to create new opportunities to volunteer. You have to meet people where they are. And, our work is really in helping people be safe, helping people continue to give back and support community because that's what they want to do, but finding more innovative ways to do that.
That's really great. What are some of the innovative ways that you've seen organizations start doing in light of this?
Well, I mean, first of all, it's I think everyone is using technology, and if you weren't fluent in your use of technology, if you were just literate or if you weren't literate, I'm sure everyone is developing a fluency now. And so what we're seeing is people use technology to help deliver programs and services. And for example, our affiliate in Hong Kong, Hands-On Hong Kong, because students were out of school, they are actually working with skills-based volunteers to refurbish computers so that they can provide laptops to students, but then they're also working with students who are hearing impaired and engaging volunteers to help with tutorial lessons for those who are hearing impaired. And that's just a really interesting way to deliver those services. And there, you look for people who know sign language. I would say our affiliate in London, Hands-On London, they're doing some wonderful work for to support the emotional health of people by bringing professionals in and providing services digitally to the community. In Washington, D.C., here in the United States, we have an affiliate who actually is working with, this is a little bit more in person, but they're working with an urban garden to prepare seeds and packets for people who can't necessarily find as much food as they want, and then help them plant some of those foods so that they can have access to fresh vegetables. And so those are just a few examples. I'm sure you've read many about sewing circles and, yeah, so those are just a few examples.
I love those examples because they are creative, but they also really tap into the immediate needs of their communities right now. I mean, receiving seedlings to plant, to grow your own food, to bring computers to kids who now have to have their education from home, but what do they do when they don't have a computer? These are wonderful projects that they're doing to really address these needs.
Yes, right. And that's the beauty of and the power of the network, because Points of Light is all about the power of people and celebrating the power of people to do good in their community. Each partner actually has their finger on the pulse of what that community needs. And so, so it's really important for us to listen and tap into that.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of how organizations are now shifting and addressing the needs and working with other organizations, perhaps that they see might need more needs than others, do you see any trends or anything that's worth noting about how organizations are shifting as they're trying to navigate? Are there things they are doing or things that they're not doing?
Well, one of the things that we're seeing, which we think is a good thing, is we're seeing people lean into partners and partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you stick to your knitting, or you focus on your center of excellence, because you have to, what would I say? You have to preserve your resources. You have to do what it is that you do well. And we are seeing a lot of people and companies and organizations in particular work with other organizations who have a center of excellence that is a little outside of what they do well. And we think that's great. We think that, there's a lot of work out here. There's a lot of need in the community, and the more we work together, the better it is for everyone.
Yeah, I definitely agree. There's certainly power in partnership, especially now as we're all trying to tackle our community issues. So working together with other like-minded organizations is certainly the key here.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
How do you see corporations being involved in working with the different NGO partners that they have?
Oh, wow. We have some great examples of corporations. First of all, Points of Light has a corporate service council, which is a community of corporations, and their CSR, their corporate responsibility professionals. They come together, they learn, they share best practices. They're a part of our thought leadership. And last week, we issued on our website that those corporations have actually given back over $1 billion in support and relief for COVID. one of the things that we are seeing specifically for corporations is they are honing in on what their priorities are, because the need is so massive that they have to really be focused. I had a conversation with a corporation probably about 3 weeks ago, and I was actually trying to gain support for the network to say, many of our affiliates, they need additional support. They have different types of events that they raise money on that require people to come in, and they just can't do that right now. And, is there a way for your corporation to help our network? And this funder in particular was very specific. And I have to say that I learned a lot. And this funder said, right now, we are focused solely on humanitarian efforts. And our humanitarian efforts are in the area of PPE for the medical professionals and food insecurity. We want to make sure that for the many people who are hungry, we can help get food out to those families in communities. And they said, we understand that the network is struggling and nonprofits are struggling, but they're not dying. And so our focus for these next 30 days or 60 days will be on humanitarian efforts, and it is about saving lives. And then you can come back to me maybe 2 months from now, and we can talk about the economic impact that COVID-19, this pandemic, is having on your network. And so, Hannah, what I really appreciated about that conversation is that it was a quick and decisive no. And I do think that candor is efficient. It allowed me to move on. It allowed the funder to not focus in an area, even though we are a treasured partner, but not focus in an area that was inconsistent with their priorities. And I think it's a win-win. And so when companies are able to really narrow their focus for periods of time and know what they want to fund and what they don't want to fund, I think it's good for everyone. And so we are seeing that.
Absolutely. I think that first, it's great to receive such a clear, straight up answer, even if it's not exactly the answer that you were hoping for. But it does allow us to move forward and to perhaps connect later with this company and see if there's room for collaboration, but also for these companies that are really looking and seeing we want to make real impact, but within the emergency situation. And that's our main focus is today, not less urgent things.
I will say, Hannah, is that this funder said, now, if some of your affiliates are providing direct services in these areas, please bring a proposal to us around that, and we're happy to entertain it. And so it caused us to, back up and then go back out to the network and say, hey, who's actually providing direct services? Because we have a funder who is interested in supporting that in all communities. It's probably about 5 weeks later, whatever that time is, and we are just about to go back to that funder on behalf of the network.
And that's great. And I think that works both ways. I think that's helpful for the nonprofit partners as well, because those that are very focused on food insecurity or hunger or whichever the topics are that they're especially interested in, they can do what they do best and they can really focus on that, as opposed to trying to do something different that they're less experienced in. These nonprofits can really use the skills that they have.
Yes. Yeah. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I bet. So, I mean, and that's just a really great example too of corporates being involved right now. And it's something that we've talked a bit about here on our Facebook Live mini-series, and in the ways in which corporates are engaging, and they're really looking to engage with their either current NGO partners or with partners that are going to be matching their exact interests as well.
Yes. And, I think the lesson to be learned from that, one is you always listen, and it's great when you and people have priorities. But the other lesson is that every no is not equal. And so in that particular case, the funder said, no, not this, but that. No, not now, but later. So, when you're getting a yes, that's great. But when you're getting a no as well, you have to evaluate what type of no is it, and is there an opportunity to come back?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to get that clarity from a corporate partner on that.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the funding ecosystem and the financial management that we're seeing nonprofits and organizations are currently facing right now due to the pandemic and uncertainty. I mean, what's Points of Light's approach been? I mean, have you been sharing resources? I mean, what have you seen that's been at the forefront for these nonprofits?
Sure. Well, a big challenge is that many of our partners, affiliates, work with the corporate sector, and their work with the corporate sector, a large part of it is engaging their employees, and so it's employee activation. And now that you have social distancing, companies are not activating their employees employee activation is getting your employees together for a gathering or an event to work in a community on a particular project. So that has really been put aside. Another challenge is that many of our affiliates, they have events where those events are gatherings, and they bring people together. It's like if our work is all about the power of people, it is people, it is like, people in person actually doing things. So around the corporate activation, what we have done and what we've seen our network and partners do is go back to the companies to say, will you convert these funds into general operating dollars? Will you allow us to use these dollars just as a mission investment? And we have been receiving some positive response, and our affiliates have been receiving positive response. And so it's just about having that conversation. When you talk about an event, there are three different options to an event. First is to cancel, second is to postpone, or the third is to figure out a more innovative way to deliver that event. And I know we're going to talk about our conference in particular, but I will share with you Volunteer New York. They're in the Rochester area of New York City, sort of just like right outside of New York. And they have this huge event where they recognize individuals who are doing well. And this year, I believe it was their 75th anniversary. And that anniversary, their event was going to be right, maybe the second week in March. And so it was once, people were really beginning their, social distancing efforts here in the United States and in New York in particular. It was exactly at the time of their event. And so what they did is they decided to deliver that celebration and recognize the people who were doing good through a digital online experience. And I think they put it together in maybe a week.
Wow.
It really means that you have to accelerate innovation. You have to pull out all the stops. You have to make phone calls, and you probably will have to cut some things because everything doesn't translate, digitally. But it just goes to show you that if you really want to get something done, if you put forth the effort and bring in partners, there's typically a way. And they didn't have to do that. They didn't have to change their event with 1 week, before or 1 week after the state said, hey, no gatherings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I want to also underscore another point you made just a minute ago, which is that, organizations can go to their corporate partners and ask them if they would be willing to have their funds be earmarked for other costs, such as keeping the lights on and keeping staff alive, so that in a few months, when they're ready for their corporate project and engagement, that they are able to do that. So I think that's one really great tip that nonprofits can take and to go to their corporate partners and ask that. And also, I love that example of the Volunteer Center in New York, because I think that really shows the grit of thinking, what can we really do here while things are closing down? And it was really just the beginning for them. And New York has suffered significantly with this pandemic, especially. And so they were really innovative and they found a way forward. So I think that also shows you that there's lots of ways that we can still run our other programs and projects. We can get creative. We can think about how we can still show appreciation to our volunteers, or still find a way for that corporate engagement online or in another way.
Yeah, sure. And Hannah, I would just like to add, when we talk about general operating dollars and having companies switch their dollars into investing in the organization, I've actually been sharing this with our partners for at least a year and a half, which is every nonprofit. It is great to have those direct services and those directed dollars, but every nonprofit needs general operating dollars and considerate mission investment. If you believe in the mission of this organization, then your baseline investment has to be in that mission. It is the nonprofit can't amplify their message if they don't have marketing dollars. They can't go out and ask and raise funds and write grants if they don't have a seasoned fundraiser. There are just so many different, they need technology to update their website. They need great financial systems. And so there's so many different things that a nonprofit needs just as baseline to operate, that, we're asking all of our funders to consider at least 10% of whatever directed fund grant you are going to give as unrestricted general operating dollars for that nonprofit to do whatever it is that they want to do. And now here in COVID, we're saying, hey, they can't deliver on that particular program, but if you can just convert all of that into investment in the mission and think that we want this nonprofit or NGO to exist beyond this, it's a great investment.
Absolutely. I think that's a great model that organizations can certainly apply to when they receive funding from from corporates, is to have a percentage go to those the general pot, and especially now.
For sure.
You mentioned that some other programs are being postponed and people are trying to figure out what to do, especially with big conferences. We're supposed to be gathering in DC in just a few weeks now for the Global Points of Light conference. We had our hotel booked, we had flights purchased, and then Corona happened. And so you guys decided not to postpone or to cancel. You decided to create a virtual conference experience. Can you walk us through that a bit, and your decision, and also what it's going to look like?
Oh, wow. Well, first of all, I have to start by saying thank you to the Points of Light team, particularly the conference team, that in 8 weeks turned everything around and said, how will we deliver this as an exceptional online experience? There are so many lessons to be learned. When we were, I think it might have been, I can't even, this is May now, right? So it may have been early March, and we thought, are we going to have the conference? Should we postpone it? Should we cancel it? And we actually had healthy, internal, rigorous debate. And not everyone was on the same page of, yes, we should just, automatically have an online conference. There was healthy debate. And then we asked ourselves, once we got closer to not, really understanding the impact to our budget if we were not to have it, right? Because that's a real thing. Then the question we always ask ourselves is, okay, if you want to do this, what will it take? not whether you'll do it, but what will it take, and evaluate whether or not you actually have what it takes or are willing to put in what it takes to do it. So we decided that yes, we want to have an online conference, and then we evaluated what it would take. We had conversations, and I do think that this was very helpful. We had conversations and sent out a survey to the speakers that we had, the sponsors, some of the attendees. I mean, just basically saying, what do you think about this? How would you respond? Would you be supportive? And so we engaged in a dialogue before making an absolute final decision. And then you have to go back and you have to get out of contracts that you're in or renegotiate contracts that you're in because there are penalties for dropping contracts. And lucky for us, because of, well, it's not lucky, but because of where we are, we were able to successfully unwind ourselves from those contracts. And then you have to have a communications plan. And so we, let everyone know. And by the way, this is our 30th year anniversary, so it was a really big deal. We were going to be in Washington, D.C., very, very excited. We had over 900 people currently registered, and we were tracking towards our 1,500 attendees. We had so many people from other countries. We had over 30 countries that were registered. I think our partners in India, they were bringing either 20 or 40, a very large delegation. So this was a really big deal for us to unwind that. What I'm pleased to say, share now, Hannah, when we sent the notice out and canceled registration, we had, like I said, 900 and something. Today, we have over 4,200 people registered.
Wow.
And it continues to grow by the hundreds every day. We have a capacity for up to 10,000. We're confident that we will probably be, we're still a few weeks from June, somewhere between 7 and 10,000. And so there are so many more people that you can reach. But I would say another decision that helped us do this is we were able to refund all of the attendees 100%. Points of Light put its own skin in the game. So it's not that we're just going to refund and then let's ask someone else to pay for it. There is an investment, minimal investment, not minimal, but modest investment that we have to make. And then again, we went back to our corporate sponsors and asked our corporate sponsors if they would allow us to do this as an online experience. And they said, I would say probably 95% of them said, yes, absolutely. This is going to be a better benefit for them because, as opposed to 1,500 people in person, we'll probably have, who knows, 4, 7, 10,000 online. We're creating a product that will live online. There are just so many different benefits. Pause. And then I'll say, and then you also have to look at the product, and it doesn't translate one for one. So a 3-day in-person experience is not going to translate as a 3-day online experience. And so we've had to shift, make investments in the production level of video, see what translates, and we will edit it down, edit the conference down. But I'm really, really excited, and it's going to be a very, very spectacular 2020 online Points of Light conference online experience. So there's a lot that goes into it, but you actually can make it work.
I just think that's, first of all, very brave of you guys and the committee to decide to offer this experience, to put your skin in the game, as you said, and to encourage and invite the corporate partners to join you in this new area. As you said early on, that we're becoming very fluent in technology. We're learning a lot of different things, and a lot of it is really experimentation. We don't always have the benefit to do a trial run and then go forward live. So I think this is wonderful. And I really commend you guys. And I know, I mean, we just recorded our session on cross-cultural volunteering a couple of days ago here in our auditorium, talking to an audience of 0. But we're really excited to be part of this virtual conference and, you know, being there virtually in the chat, as well as, you know, attending some of the sessions. I think it's really, really great that you guys are offering this.
Yeah, thank you. And, you know, it doesn't come without, you know, a little bit of pain. And so you have to be prepared for that. You have to accept that. Refunding registration fees for over 900 people. And by the way, conference for us is an investment in mission and an investment in the sector. It is not a moneymaker. As a matter of fact, we usually operate it at a deficit. We're trying to figure out how to operate it at break even. So, you know, like refunding all those dollars, there's some pain there. But what we know is that we're going to reach so many more people, and now we're certain that there will always be, well, I can't say always, but we're certain that investing in a digital aspect to conference is a good thing because it widens the net and allows you to reach more people. And so there are definitely some great benefits that are coming out of this.
I think so too, and we're also excited because, as you know, we run 3 to 4 regional conferences a year, and we were also faced with similar challenges of what do we do? Do we postpone, or do we go virtual, or what does that look like? So it'll be interesting and exciting to see the power when we kind of all unite in June online for Points of Light. I think that's it'll be a nice learning experience for other people that are, you know, whether it's a small meeting in person annually or a bigger conference. How do you shift today in the new future?
Right. And, you know, there's a line that I like to use, Hannah, and I say it is innovation is in delivery. And so, you know, if you think about takeout, if you think about Uber, you know, driving, if you think about Airbnb, if you think about music, people are still consuming what it is that they want to consume. They just consume it in a different way. I mean, even movie theaters now, like who knows what's going to happen with movie theaters, and who knows what's going to happen with the release of big production movies. It's possible that the innovation is in delivery. We will just deliver this product, this big blockbuster movie, to your phone whenever you want it on demand, and you don't have to, you know, spend whatever that dollar amount is, drive, park, get dressed, buy popcorn. You know, it's an expensive night to go to the movies, and you know, you can just get it in another way. And so, you know, I would say for all of us in the social impact space, nonprofit, NGO sector, if we can just think, how can we deliver this product or service in a more innovative way? I think that is going to really push us.
Absolutely, I agree. So give us just a teaser of the conference. What is the theme? And also for those that haven't registered, is there still room in the 10,000 occupancy for others to join as well?
Yes, absolutely. It's free. So, you know, of course, we'll be asking, you know, if you enjoyed this conference and would like to support, you know, we welcome your support, but there's absolutely still room. I'll share a little bit about the opening sector. First of all, our chair, Neil Bush, there's a little surprise in a part of his video. The team was saying, oh, we recorded Neil, and this is what, I was like, he did what? So you have to tune in for our chair, and Neil has been involved in Points of Light for more than 20 years. Our opening session, we have 3 really fabulous speakers. I'll tell you about 2 of them. One is David Brooks. He's with the Aspen Institute, and he's going to be interviewing a couple of people, some really, really interesting young people about how they are civically engaged and what their passion point is for for this next sector in their life. And so I would say the David Brooks piece is going to be really good. And then there is Bob Johansson. He's a futurist, and I've heard him speak a couple of times. I've invited him to come and meet with our board members. He has published, I think, 11 books now. He works. His Institute for the Future is affiliated with Stanford University, and so he's actually going to be speaking on full spectrum full spectrum thinking and new leadership literacies. And then we'll have a leader from Deloitte who will really talk about what do you call it when you design thinking, and how you take this big idea and you go from a concept and then actually bring it to life, and the process of engaging others in your vision and idea, so that when it comes to life, it is a product or a service that people want, that adds value and is a solution to a problem. So yeah, it's great.
So very exciting.
Yeah, and then we have organizations like yours that are putting together some really wonderful content to share and educate our sector. You're going to have a large audience now, I'm telling you.
Wow, well, we'll be ready for that. I mean, it's very exciting, and this sounds like the speakers are going to be really fascinating, and we'll also link it here in the comments. So for those that want to learn more and join, I really encourage you guys to attend. It's free and it's online, and it's a really wonderful experience. And I think that this is one of the silver linings of COVID-19 is that we get to participate in these experiences when you might not have been able to before. So really encourage people to check that out.
Yeah. And, I would say this is that leaders in our sector, we're so used to doing, we're so used to giving, we're so used to working, that we don't have the privilege of time to think. Mm-hmm. We don't have the privilege of time to be strategic because we're working on the urgent or the important. What the conference provides, and you can snuggle up with your personal device and look at it hopefully somewhere comfortable, but it provides just a little space for the do-gooders to think. So it's the privilege of time to think, the privilege of time to be strategic, the privilege of time to feed yourself new information. And because when we put the products out online, there will be chats and opportunities to engage with each other. It is also the privilege of time to meet like-minded people from around the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great opportunity, and I think one that people won't want to miss. So that's great, and I'm really looking forward to it, and I think it's going to be really interesting. And also the fact that you're uniting upwards of 10,000 people. So kudos to you guys. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Thanks.
In our few minutes remaining here, I would love to hear, I know time went by fast, didn't it? I'd love to hear, Natalie, from you about, this whole situation, the pandemic with COVID-19. How has it been for you, and how have you been managing to stay sane? What have been some of your coping tactics?
Well, I'll start by saying sane is relative. Sane is relative. How would I answer that? If I were to take a deep breath, I would say that this is sad and stressful for the world. And those of us who are in, the social impact sector, we are very empathetic people. And, so we feel we feel joy and we feel pain and suffering of those that are around us, and just human beings and humanitarian, yeah, human beings. And, so I personally feel sad. Sometimes I feel sad about the situation. Sometimes I have actually, in the United States, the number of deaths is growing by 2,000 a day, and I think last night we were at 91,000 individuals. When I am in my quiet space, I actually pray for the families of all of these people within the last 3-4 months around the world who unexpectedly lost people. And so, like, there's a grief that I have just for humanity, and for me to pray for people I know and people I don't know, and it has impacted some of our colleagues personally, and that's sad as well. We pray. Um, from a professional standpoint, we have a wonderful HR team here at Points of Light, and they are bringing forward resources. There are a lot of resources out on the internet in terms of how you stay healthy emotionally, about being mindful, and how you take care of yourself as well as others. And so I would absolutely encourage people to reach out, and find those resources. I have a small network of friends, because I do like to laugh, and I like a big, like, belly laugh. That it's just, I have a very low threshold for humor, so almost anything can be funny as long as it's not hurtful, right? Um, so I have friends who send little memes, or just little things that are out that are kind of humorous, and that keeps the endorphins up. So for me, I try to find something to laugh about. And I would just say to take care of yourself. The other thing that I have shared with my staff is, we've taken all these classes about how people work, and the differences in terms of how you approach work. And we, as professionals, and even just as human beings, you have your regular response, and then you have your stress response.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're not aware of your stress response, but your stress response could be probably an exaggeration of who you really are, right? So, I'm the type of person who likes to get things done, and I like to get them done quickly. So my stress response is, okay, I really don't have time for this. We made this decision. Why are we revisiting it, right? So, like, there's no extra processing. We're done. Um, what I'm sharing with my team, but I also think that people should just think about this personally, is the whole world is likely to be in stress response. So the whole world, every response is probably extra. So give yourself, like, a break. Give that person who may be, coming to you a little bit more extra a break, and understand that, we are just in a stressful situation. And yeah, and I would say just take time for yourself. Like, people do different things to cope. So take time for yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that really hits the nail on the head, that everyone's in a stress situation right now. And so we need to give grace to others, and we need to give grace to ourselves, because we're not used to this either. And so we might be acting differently. We might be acting in stress. And since, we all have a different stress response. I mean, you said yours, you're like, I don't have time for this. Let's move forward. Let's, keep going. And other people are in different stages of that. And so as we work in teams and we work with people, and everyone's affected by this a little differently, taking a moment, being gentle, and just giving that grace to each other and ourselves is really important.
Definitely. And I'll give a couple of other examples of exaggerated stress responses. So, you'll have some people who are kind of quiet and they have to process. Well, under stress, please don't ask a processor to make a decision because now they have to process even more because it's like, well, wait a minute, I really need to process. Um, yeah, so you just have to think about that everybody, and then you have people who are talkers, right? And they love a big idea and they love to sort of like talk. Well, under stress, it's like they might not be ready to make a decision yet. They want to talk a little bit more. They want to like, and so if we just recognize that like the whole world is under stress, and that applies to your personal relationships, however you respond in your personal relationships. It applies to family dynamics. I think if my husband soaks like one more glass that just had juice in it for a minute, it's gonna drive me bananas, right? Because it's like, no, 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 like just rinse the glass out and put it away. It doesn't need to be in the sink. Well, that's my stress response. I can't look at a glass for a minute, and God forbid there should be a pot there. So yeah, I would just say just recognize that.
That's great. That's definitely great advice. And you also said something to me when we connected earlier this week, something that you heard Maria Shriver say.
Oh, yes, this is really good. Points of Light, we had the privilege, and thank you for your support of participating in the Call to Unite. And it was a 24-hour online experience of, people from all over the world who were sharing their responses and reaction to COVID and helping. And right now they have a website. It's unite.us, but it is really inspiration on demand. And at the end, I was watching Maria Shriver, and she was having a conversation with a couple of, I guess, emotional and mental health professionals. And there were two things that resonated with me. The one was defining stress. And how they define stress is they say stress is created by wanting the current to be something other than it is. So just think about that. Like it's created by wanting the current, the now, to be something other than it is. And so, if we could just accept the now for what it is and not be stressed about it, and you can apply any situation to that, um, you will lower your stress. And she said it doesn't mean that you have to accept it forever. It doesn't mean that you um, won't do something about it in the future. It doesn't mean that you will live in that specific situation. But if you just accept the now for what it is, you will lower your stress. And then the second point that resonated with me is they talked about worry, and they said, worry is the brain creating these scenarios about the future, and then the emotions follow that scenario that your brain created about the future. And she said, be careful of your self-talk. Be careful of what you say because you're always listening. Like you cannot turn off your voice in your head. You are always listening to everything you say. So be careful of um, what you say of your self-talk. And so those two lessons in particular, the stress being about the now and the worry being about the future, I think were just really good tools for me um, to say, hey, it is what it is, and I'm not going to worry about it. So I'm fine in the now, and who cares about tomorrow? So
Absolutely. I think
yeah.
everyone can relate to that. And that she said that so eloquently. And that's such an important reminder to focus right here on the now, not worry about the future, not have that anxiety or that worry, because that's what it is about what's happening next. So
Yes.
something we can all hold internally. And we need that reminder.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you for sharing that insight. I love that, and that's really great, and that's definitely stuck with me since we spoke. So hopefully something's working there.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Hannah, and thank you for this opportunity to, just have this conversation and share a few tips and learn from you. And thank you for your partnership and all the good work that you're doing. And I'm looking forward to tuning into your session for conference as well.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, Natalie. It's been really great to talk with you. And thank you for sharing all your insights and experiences with folks that are listening. It's been a real pleasure. And, I'm looking forward to the conference and looking forward to seeing what Points of Light is up to. And we'll just stay tuned to that. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks. Take
And
care.
but right before people sign off and leave, stay tuned next week. We have another conversation, another Facebook Live. This will be next Wednesday, same time. And we're going to be talking about doing good as a family during different times and during difficult times, excuse me. And this is going to be a conversation that will be with Tova Gar, who's the partnerships director at Good Deeds Day. And she's also the founder of an organization which she's really working with families and organizations on helping to get through these difficult times. So don't want to miss that. Stay tuned, and we'll see you guys there. So with that, thank you, Natalie. Have a great rest of your day. Hope to connect soon, and goodbye,
Okay.
everybody.
Bye. Thanks, Hannah.